Call this meeting to order. We'll begin with the adoption of the agenda.
Make a motion to adopt.
I'll second.
Before we do that, we do have to change one thing on the consent agenda. When I received Stetson's invoice, I received a previous one that has already been paid, so the amount that's listed on the consent agenda is correct, which is why you have that invoice in front of you. So when we adopt the agenda, we'll have to adopt the change from, I think it's the 53,000, sorry, I don't have my agenda in front of me, to $70,473.39 for invoice 2652-97.
Okay, perfect. I'll make a motion to adopt it, adopt the agenda as amended.
I'll second.
Chairman Hayman,
Aye.
Vice Chair Peters,
Aye.
Director Vallejo,
Aye.
Director Itmeyer, Director St. Amand. Motion carries.
Okay.
We will not have water district today, no.
Hey, this is Tim Itmeyer from San Bernardino County. I'm on the line. Sorry, I was having some technical difficulties on my end.
Director Itmeyer, we just adopted the agenda. The motion was to approve the agenda with an amendment to the consent agenda. The Stetson invoice was a previous one that was listed on there. So instead of the 53,000, it should read $70,473.39.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Should I switch over to closed session then?
Since we have
Public comment.
public comment on closed session. So we'll move to item number 3, public comment on closed session. Do we have any public comment from the floor? Seeing none, do we have any public comment on the phone lines? Seeing none, we will now move into closed session. I'll move into open session. We'll begin with a report out on closed session.
The board met in closed session to discuss the items identified on the closed session. There was no reportable action that took place. That concludes the report.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everybody will please stand, face flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we'll have roll call.
Chairman Hayman,
Present.
Vice Chair Peters,
Present.
Director Vallejo, and then both Directors St. Amand and Director Itmeyer will be absent for the remainder of the meeting.
Okay, next we will have public comment. This time is reserved for the public to address the board about matters not on the agenda. No action will be taken on non-agenda items unless authorized by law. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Do we have any public comment on the floor?
Yes, Judy Decker, President of the Eastern Kern County Resource Conservation District. Long ago, when you all put together your groundwater sustainability plan and you offered to farmers the transient pool fallowing program, and this was discussed and approved by the state. However, there is nothing in that document, nor has anything come forward since that time about a fallowing program. I'm bringing this up to you because the RCD is, of course, stands for Resource Conservation. And from time to time, we have the opportunity to plug into a potential grant for such a thing, but there is nothing in your document that talks about fallowing, how you're going to go about doing it, or choices you're going to offer. And I'm bringing this up to you so you can work on it. And I brought the question up and it was sent to excuse me, Stetson Engineers. And a gentleman from Stetson contacted me just yesterday, and I sent his questions on to our administrative officer who stays in tune with grants that we can apply for. And so I think it's been now what, 6 years, 7 years since you offered up the transient pool following program. So some of the farmers must be getting close to thinking about that. And that's why I'm bringing it up, because it will take quite some time to develop a program for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. And one question for you. Did you say that you did provide Stetson with the contact information already?
I provided him with our contact information,
Okay.
yes. And I provided our AO with his contact information. She is currently working from home because our office is at the BLM, which is a federal entity that is closed.
Thank you. Any other public comment from the floor? Seeing none, any public comment on the phones? None? All right, next we will move to the board member comments. Do we have any comments from the board?
Just that the last comment we received from Ms. Decker seems like something staff should follow up with to see if there really does need to be additional action from our staff to develop a more detailed program, or if what's in the GSP can be used as it is. And
Well, you've got to be right close to it.
hello.
It's a funky mic. You have to talk straight into the mic. If you turn your head slightly, it doesn't work.
I'll stare off into nothingness when I speak. Just that it sounds like it would be good for staff to follow up with Ms. Decker's request to see if our program does need to be updated, or if what's in the GSP is sufficient and we can use that somehow as it is. Doesn't sound like we need any sort of formal change to a GSP, just maybe our program needs to be a little more defined somehow at a like regulatory kind of level.
It's been a while since we talked about the fallowing program, so my memory's a little hazy. My recollection is that once it became clear that the water district would not fund that project, did we formally end the project in the last GSP?
All things we should probably just have
Yeah,
staff
I
do
think
again.
we'd have to figure out where we left that.
Why don't we
I think
take
one of
that
the issues,
direction then?
Keith, was we had no mechanism for funding. So we were looking for outside funding. We had Capital Corps helping us also on funding. And the last we got from Capital Corps was they could not find funding either. But in response to Judy Decker's comments, yes, we are following up on potential funding through her source, yes. But we'll put together a memo for the board on where it's at and where we're going.
Judy Decker again. I have something to add to that. About a month ago, we had a presentation from the National Resource Conservation Service, and they brought with them 3 gentlemen from the UC Extension Program. And apparently, and I'm not clear which one it was, but apparently UC Extension, at least some portions of it, are starting to work on fallowing programs, because of course the issue isn't just in our valley, it's in other overdrafted basins as well. So Steve, I'll see if Nancy can get you the information from those gentlemen as well.
Yes,
Thank
very
you.
good. Very good, Judy, thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Any other board member comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to item number 8, consent agenda. This will consist of items 8A, B, 1, B1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and make note that there will be a change on item B2, the Stetson Engineers. Cost of $56,136.43 is changed to $70,473.39. Does any member of the board wish to pull a item off the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second. I don't know if there's any public comment on it.
Just, yeah, any any member of the public wish to pull an item off the agenda?
I don't wish to pull an item, but I wish to comment on your minutes. This is part of the consent agenda, is that correct?
Yes.
Your minutes are so brief that one cannot read them and really figure out what happened at the board meeting. And I'm going to bring up the issue of your Facebook account and the long discussion that was held and the vote that was taken. My recollection of the vote was that Mr. Vallejo wanted to make sure that the Facebook would be a one-way communication. That is, the public could not communicate back with the GA's Facebook. And I think that needs to be in your minutes. Maybe you'll remember it, but maybe next year there will be somebody else on this board that wouldn't know that. And it's always best to have enough record so that future people, as well as existing people, can be reminded of what happened. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a motion. Any other public comment from, or no one wishes to pull an item off the agenda? So, all right. We have a motion and a second.
Just a little bit of discussion on that. I mean, I think the direction was pretty clear, and if something changes in the meantime between now and any point in the near future, I've been checking in to see if and when that Facebook page gets established and to see how it's being operated. I haven't found it yet. Maybe they've put it up. They haven't even put it up yet. But if that comes up and it is an issue with the different operation of that page than this board approved, I'll bring it up.
Very good. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do we still have Tim Mittenheimer, or did he?
No.
No, he
He's
dropped off.
checked out? Okay, okay, very good.
I just had a comment for the next item whenever you're ready to move.
Okay. All right, moving on to item number 9, board to review and adopt the 2026 budget. This will be with General Manager Carol. Okay. We have a comment, before you start, Carol, we have a comment from
Yeah,
April.
just for the benefit of the public and those participating on the WebEx, the city is currently having some IT issues, so the PowerPoint presentation that'll be displayed in here will not show on your screens. It is available on the GA website if you wish to follow along that way, or the budget is in the board packet. And I have copies up here in the front for anybody in the audience if they would like one.
Okay, thank you, April. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if we can bring that PowerPoint up, I'll just walk through it very briefly for you because I know you have the budget in your packet along with the staff report. Okay. So this is an overall summary of the budget. It's basically showing it by revenue allocation. And so it's more of a summary. There's other pages of the budget that show more detail per item. But this basically indicates that we have total revenues budgeted for about nearly 9.3 million and total expenses of about 8.66. And if we move to the next slide, this is just a breakdown of our revenues. There's a bit of history there and shows the estimated for this year as well as the proposed for 2026. So just a revenue summary. As we can see, most of the funds are coming from either augmentation fee. We have 900,000 estimated from extraction fee. We have some funds expected from this new second transient pool, shallow well mitigation fee, and then in that total, there are also the grant reimbursements that are included in the total. And we'll move down to the expenses, indicating that we have a total of about 8.66 million in estimated expenses for the year. A lot of this pertains to the grant work, and we have the 3 different grants that we'll be working at. We're closing out that Sigma IP grant program. This year, that was the $7.6 million grant, and so we only have about a little under $250,000 that we're going to be closing out for the coming year. Another $2 million out of the Urban Communities Drought Relief Grant Program. That's the one that's funding our consolidation efforts. And then the new EPA Resilience Grant, which is going to be covering some of the costs associated with our pipeline project following the closeout of the Sigma IP grant. The beginning and ending balances, again, just a summary, and we won't spend too much time on this, shows the various revenue sources as well as the expenses and what the overall balance is. And we can move on to the next slide. Just, again, a pie chart to show you where the funds are coming from, primarily from the grants. So we have only a small portion allocated to grant management, but then the IP grant, EPA, and the consolidation or urban communities grant. Outstanding obligations, I'm happy to say that we've been working these down, paying off our outstanding obligations primarily to the city for past costs, including the council services, IT support and use of the council chambers over the past several years. So we've been making payments against those costs and paying that down. And then we have interfund loans that we're still looking at from this year, 2025 and 2024. But those are basically going to be reconciled once we have final numbers, and the balances will be repaid. So those should be closed out once we have those final numbers. And then to follow up on the outstanding obligations, we can see that we have the final payment of past costs scheduled for this year to the city of about $132,000. And then as of this year, we'll be doing sort of a pay-as-you-go to make sure that we are just paying for those services as they're incurred. And then these pages are basically more of a breakdown of the initial budget summary page. So it shows the various funds and the items that we have budgeted within them for both revenue and expenses. And so we have just a few notable highlights. So we have the extraction fund, where most of our operating costs are allocated. We have this new unrestricted second transient pool fund. This was as a result of the settlement with Mojave Pistachios, and we've estimated $633,000 of income resulting from that second transient pool. And we're actually going to be using a good portion of that money to offset our operating costs, so it'll be transferred over to extraction fund, and you'll see a transfer in the expenses further down. Augmentation fund, that's our replenishment fee. We have some legal costs budgeted in this category, and we expect to revisit those budget estimates as the year goes and hopefully make some budget modifications throughout the year as some of the legal matters are resolved next year. And then, of course, the grant reimbursements and grant expenses, which are listed, looks like further down in the budget. But at any rate, this is just a detailed picture. I think this probably we don't need to go through it line by line, but I'm happy to answer any questions. I think that the key is that you see that we have a proposed budget of about 9.3 approximately in revenues and about 8.66 in expenses. A lot of grant funds that we're still taking advantage of, a new second transient pool fund that's helping offset our operating costs. So happy to answer any questions, and otherwise we would recommend that you consider adoption of the budget.
Very good, thank you. We'll bring it back to the board for any questions or comments.
I've got one, under the outstanding obligations, the interfund loans, loan to extraction fund, to the augmentation fund. How are those going to be paid back to the extraction fund?
We are using funds from the Mojave settlement to offset what was borrowed from replenishment to extraction. So we were able to, and we talked about that a bit in the last audit report, which was what we were able to do for a previous year. But basically, the settlement monies from the Mojave Pistachio settlement were able to offset those inter-fund loans. So we're able to repay the replenishment fund and make the extraction fund whole, make the replenishment fund whole with the use of the settlement monies. So we don't have those inter-fund loans pending anymore.
Okay.
And certainly this is a board decision, and if you wanted to do something different, we could. The only reason that these are showing right here as still pending is because we just don't have final numbers to close them out.
Okay. Yeah, I think I would like to discuss that a little bit more as far as where that comes back from, just in light of certain restrictions or obligations that certain funds might have.
Yes, absolutely, and I think we have a good accounting of that for you. But yes, let's definitely go over that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments from the board? We'll bring it to the floor for public comment. Do we have any public comment from the floor? Any public comment from the phones? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for any final comment. If there are none, I would ask for all in favor.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Aye.
Aye.
Three votes, motion carries. All right, moving on to the next item will be the Water Resource Manager's report. That will be a Stetson.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Steve on the line. Good morning, everyone. Okay. As always, the Water Resource Manager report is part of a staff report in your packet, so you have it there in quite a bit of detail. I'll just hit some highlights of some of the items which I normally do. Starting with the grant funding update. This is for the implementation grant, round one implementation. We did submit invoice number 11, which covered January through March work for a total of right at $600,000. DWR has approved that invoice, and the GA has received payment. So that's payment is in the bank. Invoice number 12, which covered period of April through June, a little over $400,000, almost $420,000, submitted to DWR. We're just waiting for their review and approval, which we don't expect any problem from that. The next invoice would be invoice number 13 to DWR. not due till the end of November, and we'll certainly be ready to go to get that invoice submitted. Under the Community Drought Relief Program, you recall we got, the Groundwater Authority got almost $3.4 million to consolidate shallow well systems into public water systems. And we've been reporting on the Rademacher work, the cooperative work between the Groundwater Authority and the Water District. Phase 1 project, which hooked up a couple of residents there to the system, has been completed. So that job is all done. I think the final accounting is being finalized between the Water District and the Groundwater Authority on reimbursement under that reimbursement agreement. Phase 2, the Water District has completed the design and submitted to DDW, Division of Drinking Water State, for approval. So we're waiting for word back on their review of Phase 2 design. And the next section that we are working under that grant would be a consolidation feasibility study for the Stark Street area, which we are currently working on. My intention would be to bring back, we'll go through the staff certainly first, but to bring back a plan for using up the rest of these funds productively and getting these projects online. I believe we have about end of next year, I believe, to complete the work under this grant. And I'd like to get a program schedule with budgeting and milestones to both the staff and then the board, which will be coming. Well, under this grant, invoice number 5, which covered January through March, was for a little over $61,000. Was submitted and approved, payments received. Invoice number 6 for April through June, similar to above. Total requested payment was $173,000, a little over $173,000. This is a large invoice, primarily because of the work being done on the pipeline extension. It's been submitted to DWR and we're awaiting payment. We don't expect any issues there. The same thing, the next invoice number 7 is due to DWR by the end of November. On the pipeline design project,
Hey, Steve, before you move on there,
Sure.
Just to refresh my recollection on the phase 1 construction completion for 2 properties being hooked up to the pipeline, Sanchez and Bassett. Were those 2 families that had issues with, I think, arsenic in their water that came before our board a while back? And that was part of a larger street program, but we needed to get those 2 first so they could actually have potable water in their homes. Is that the one am I correctly remembering that one?
Yes, you are, correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
That's
And
good.
the phase 2 is an expansion of that to other properties in that similar area. So that's great. So anyway, the GSP project, the pipeline project, for design work, pipeline design, just a couple of notes. And I kind of reported on this before, but there's really nothing new yet on it yet. But with the completion of the AVEX study on the hydraulic modeling of the pipeline and how we're going to connect with the AVEX system, Provost and Pritchard, our design consultant now, has several items that are essentially due. They'll be coming to the Groundwater Authority for review. And you'll note in the report talking about the technical memorandum on the tank, electrical systems and instrumentation and controls. We need a technical member there. These are 30% submittals. We need a refined system hydraulics and transient mitigation analysis, a technical memorandum. We're looking for a 30% submittal on that. And then also a draft mechanical pump selection at a 30% submittal. Those are all due right now. So we're kind of working with Provost Fisher to get those submitted. In addition, we're looking for preliminary permitting requirements. A TM from Provost and Pritchard should be provided very soon, and a draft corrosion design technical memorandum there. As you recall, we have reported some issues with the Edison power supply, and we're awaiting a design plans for the modified Edison power design. This is an area where Blue Mountain with Omar is looking at this also, with possibly looking at solar power and some other options there. Our next milestones are we're expecting a 90% design submittal later this year, followed by 100% design submittal. So we're looking to kind of wrap a lot of this up this calendar year. In my environmental services, The next steps are for the environmental folks to provide us an updated schedule on processing through the environmental documents. One of them will be to provide a draft environmental assessment for a 45-day public comment period. That'll be coming to the board to authorize that. And then the next milestone would be to provide a final environmental assessment and EIR, which will be part of the updated schedule we should be getting from the environmental consultants. Right-of-way is the other consultant working on this, is on the right-of-way. And we expect a final right-of-way acquisition plan for all the right-of-way that is needed for the project by late this year, certainly by the end of the calendar year. And then completion of all of the drawings, the plats, and the legal descriptions for all properties that need to be acquired for the right-of-way. Next on the list in your packet is Blue Mountain Development, which is Omar. I'll just say right off that, I'm going to have Bianca report on that at the end of my, I'm going to finish the rest of this, but I will say that we did have a couple of coordination meetings with Omar. It's nothing short from being very impressed. I mean, we really made a very good move to bring Omar on. He's on top of most all of the issues we've given him already. He has some good ideas, and he's hit the ground moving. There was, I don't know if you heard the report, but his wife was expecting, I think they were looking to induce yesterday or today, but I think she had the baby on either Monday or Sunday night or Monday. So he's on leave right now at home with his family, but we are in touch with him, and we expect to have Omar maybe at the next board meeting to give you guys a report because he's very, very, very competent, and I think you'd enjoy hearing his perspective of the work that he's looking at. So moving on, I'll let Bianca pick that up when I get done. DWR submittals on our grant, the implementation grant, outcome and deliverable dates due by the end of this year as a draft grant completion reports. We're working on designs and specifications, which I just described. We're expecting from Provost and Pritchard to get to DWR. CEQA and ECO documents, which again, we're waiting for the environmental people to get those submitted, and copies of the right-of-way drawings. So all of those are due by the end of the year. So our consolidated, composite schedule will include all of that, including what's needed, what's due to DWR under our grant. The final grant completion report, which would close out all of the progress reports, all of the invoicing and the financials, is due to DWR by end of March of next year. So that's coming up too. We still have our EPA Infrastructure Resilience and Sustainability Program grant. You've all heard the news about the federal shutdown. Well, with all the delays that we've had working through the language required under that grant agreement under the new administration, we now have a federal shutdown, which is probably going to delay things a little further. The good news is that we did, in this little impasse right before the federal government shut down, we did exchange agreements, essentially draft final agreements for the grant. And we were asked if we had any comments on the language, and our response was no, we're good with it, ready to go. And then right after that, the federal government shut down. So I think when they do come back in business, I think we'll be ready to go. We're just hoping that this grant is not one of the grants that might be cut by the federal government. So far, it looks good, and we're keeping going. So that's where we're at there. Corps of Engineers, still generally coordinating with the Corps of Engineers on any assistance in-kind services it might provide. Pipeline construction, we're working with the Corps. Capital Corps has been very, very helpful. Omar is going to be very, very helpful here on project phasing and coordinating a draft agreement with the Corps. So that's probably one of our next big steps. Shallow well mitigation program, there are currently no applications in our hands for review, so we're basically sitting on that. And then the rest of the report is basically on the data collection and the regular routine work that's being done to support the GSP. So I'll fold back now to Blue Mountain. And again, I want to say that our coordination meetings, our introduction and our coordination meetings and laying out tasks and schedules and just exchanging ideas and thoughts going forward to get Omar busy on this stuff. I thought went very, very well. And Bianca, maybe you could just do a little review, if you would.
Hi, yes, members of the board and the public. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can.
Perfect. Okay, just a brief overview. As you guys know, at the August board, Blue Mountain's contract was approved for the program management services for the project. Last month, the contract was executed, and we have already held many kickoff meetings. Just as Steve was mentioning, we had kickoff meetings with the GA staff, the Water Resources Manager staff, in order to align Blue Mountain with the goals of the project, the scopes, roles, and the next steps. And then we had individual kickoff meetings with the rest of the project consultants. He's already began his review of the status schedule and costs of the project. And next, he plans on creating a master schedule to identify risk factors, focusing on any technical, environmental, regulatory, fiscal, and schedule impacts. This end of the month, we're going to be starting coordination meetings with all of the project consultants together. So we're excited that, yeah, we've, definitely hit the ground running with Blue Mountain, and yeah, good to go. So thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Bianca. Yeah, good report. And to the board and the audience, great report. I'm very excited to have Omar on board and working with us. I think that's all we have, Mr. Chairman, unless there's questions.
Thank you very much, Steve. And Bianca, I'll bring it back to the board for any comments or questions. Okay. I just have one in regards to Blue Mountain and the Army Corps of Engineers and the creating the master schedule. And do we have a rough idea of when completion of that will be in regard to transitioning the project over to Army Corps?
Bianca, this is Michael McKinney. Do you want me to handle that?
Yes,
Sure.
I would help. Thank you, Michael.
No problem. Mr. Chairman, we are currently in discussions with the U.S. Army Corps about review of the environmental documents and all of the planning documents. We know before they take control of the project for construction that they're going to want to have a review and a comment and probably some additions, some subtractions, rewording, and what have you. They do not have funding to do that. And so what we have asked them to do is to convert the Planning Assistance to States Award over for that review funding that'll allow them to do that. Of course, we asked that question and the federal government shut down. So we are in the process of working through that particular issue right this moment. The current plan is that we will seek a appropriation in the fiscal year 27 Energy and Water Development Act that will do what they call a forced project start. That's a terrible name for it, but that is what it's called. And essentially that provides the funding to do the initial construction. That gives Stetson time to complete all the environmental work and permitting that needs to be done, incorporate any Army Corps of Engineer comments into those final planning documents, and do a first year coordinated budget sometime in the calendar year of 2027. We have it scheduled for first quarter. Army Corps has not responded to that schedule at this particular point, but that's how the transition is expected to work. Is that enough detail for the board?
It is. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
You got it.
Thanks,
We
Mike.
do have one question.
Yeah, I was just wondering, so under the shallow well mitigation program, wasn't there basically cutoff time where we told people that they had to be registered multiple times
Yes,
to participate in that program?
yes. We've had inquiries, and one of the first questions we ask is to make sure that their well is registered with the Groundwater Authority. So yes, that is a requirement of the program.
Well, I guess, I mean, I would imagine that time when we told people they had to be registered has passed. I mean, do we,
Yes.
moving forward, just accept registering your well and then participating in the program still, or wasn't there a hard cutoff point at some point in the past?
I don't think there was necessarily a hard cutoff point, Mr. Peters. But I think the staff at least would have to coordinate with the staff. I think depending on the circumstances, we certainly wouldn't go ahead with anything without bringing it to the board of what the circumstances might be for an applicant to the shallow well program. If we had an applicant come in and it was a legitimate application, except they hadn't registered yet for whatever reason, we would likely look at it from the staff level and then bring it to the board for a decision of a go or no go. So we would be, I think we're still open to it because that's the nature of the program. But as of now, yeah, the program, it's closed right now.
And I don't recall a hard deadline. I think there is a formally adopted program. We should just go look at that document and confirm that fact one or the other.
I think we just tell them that it has to be registered in order for them to participate in the program.
Yeah, the only, I would say, is kind of a hard deadline would be for those who are on small water systems or situations like that where they should have been paying the extraction fee. That would be really the only qualification I would see. Otherwise, just small domestic. They're really only obligated to register with us. We have received those registrations upon shallow well mitigation requests. But for, like I said, small water systems or co-ops of that nature, if their connections are 4 or more, they would have been required to not only be registered, but be paying extraction fees since September of 2018.
Okay.
April, do we have that shallow well mitigation program on our website?
Yes.
Do you know where?
Let me give you the link.
But you answered my question. I was just making sure that I was getting confused with another part of it, so thank you.
It would be under the reports and forms. For 2022, we adopted the shallow well impact mitigation plan,
Thank you.
as well as the emergency assistance form.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, we'll bring it to the floor for any public comment.
Judy Decker again. Steve,
Yes.
regarding your water consolidation grant, would there be any possibility of using those funds to assist the water district in taking over the Inyokern CSD? You don't need to answer it now. I think you need to think about it. I've looked at your proposed Stark Street consolidation.
Yes.
And while I don't know, you're talking about hooking on when the district finishes replacing the lines in the Dune 3 or whatever it's called, consolidation that they're doing. And you'll be going down Strecker and catching Stark Street and going east on Welcome Way. There are only 5 houses on Welcome Way before you get to Calvert. And one of those houses is Mr. Byerly's house, who has a new well that the GA helped pay for. So, and you've never really talked about, I'm putting you on the spot here, but not for today, consolidating small systems into the water district is going to put an additional burden of water consumption on water district wells, which will further impact the groundwater basin, because instead of a bunch of little straws in the ground sucking water, you're going to have a few big straws. So I was wondering if that money you could work with the water district and the GA and somehow use some of that money for the CSD. I don't know. I know the CSD is completely responsible for causing their own problems, but that's another issue. The other comment I had is, you must know by now that a couple of weeks ago we had a little flood. And the two areas that were impacted was Fremont Valley and the Indian Wells Valley. We ourselves got around 3 inches of rain in a few hours. My understanding is that Fremont Valley got even more. And the low point is where some of the pipeline is going to be going. So I want to make sure that the issue of flash flooding in the pipeline is addressed, because my understanding from the article I read that quoted Mr. Peters over here is that Randsburg lost a good portion of their pipeline due to that flooding. Thank you.
Yes, if I might, Mr. Chairman, I'll do you on the last one first. Yeah, we did. We certainly heard about the rain you got up there, which was pretty amazing for this time of year. It's just crazy. And as part of the pipeline design, yes, we are looking closely right now at scour analysis, the depth of pipe, whether we do trenchless, construction for the pipeline underground, how we're going to do it all. But one of the areas we're looking at right now, and one of the areas where Omar will be looking at is there's a risk assessment for that scour analysis and the scour requirements of how deep we need to go. Because as you get deeper, it gets very, very expensive. But that is coming back, and it is an important component we're looking at right now. And just so you know, one of the things that we talked about internally here after that rainfall and seeing where it went was getting people out in the field and taking some pictures and seeing how it's changed out there, what the impacts of that storm were to on scour and that situation. So it provides some good information, and yes, we are looking at that. When it comes to it, do you want to go ahead, Bianca?
I was just going to add that Provost and Pritchard is and has already started coordinating with the Kern County Roads Department to get some information on the recent storm so that they can understand those, potential impacts into the design of the project.
Great, thank you, Bianca.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. On the first one, in your Kern, I'll let you know, the Groundwater Authority staff, the whole staff, I'm sure, and the board, all the way up to the board, but certainly the staff has certainly not ignored the Inyo Kern situation. It's a very difficult situation. It's not one that the Groundwater Authority is actively involved at right now because it's being handled by the Water District and the state is working with the Water District on that. So I don't know that there's anything for the Groundwater Authority to do right now in that situation, but I will let you know, Judy, that as we look at things like Stark Pit consolidations, any consolidations that result in significantly more pumping by the Water District to serve areas that were being served by shallow wells, and now they're going to be moved over into deep wells where we know we have depletion, that we have drawdown in those areas. We will be looking at that. As a requirement of our program is to look at the impacts of relocation of this pumping and how it impacts our overall operations basis, because certainly we don't want to exacerbate a problem where we already have some very large wells that could be, that already have, or in the future may impact other shallow wells that just create more of a problem. So that is something we will be looking at for any of the consolidations that we look at.
Thank you, Steve.
You bet.
Hey, George Kroll, General Manager of the Indian Wells Valley Water District. Just on behalf of the board, I just wanted to state we are as much at the mercy of the state in this potential consolidation as is Inyo Kern. And I know our board's sensitive to the notion that we're going in to take over. That's not true. We're just following state direction, and just wanted to make sure everybody's clear on that. And we're going to do what the state asks us and follow the state rules. just as we assume Kern will do, and we are going to have meetings with them and try to work this out locally as best we can and hope that works. But if not, the state comes in and directs us to do something, we're going to do so. I just wanted to add that little bit of clarification there for my board.
Great, great. Thank you, George.
Thank you, George. Any other public comment from the floor? Seeing none, any public comment on the phones? Okay, seeing none, we will go ahead and move to our next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Steve. The general manager's report, and that will be with Carol.
Yes, thank you. In your packet, you have a monthly financial report, finally. This one is through August, so county is still struggling a little bit with getting all of the financial data up and available. But I think it sounds like this is what you'll see. You probably will start seeing our financial reporting maybe a month in arrears of what you're used to seeing. So the upside of that is actually that we'll have more complete information in terms of receipts and payables for those numbers. But at any rate, you have in your packet your financial report through the end of August, 67% of the year completed. The cash balance statement actually shows, it shows cash balance as of the end of August, but then it also deducts the payables for September and October. Obviously wouldn't show receipts for those months, but it's there for your information as well. And if you have any questions about that, let me know. Also, just a quick note that we were alerted to a transient pool sale. So we're told that Mojave Pistachios has purchased the Simmons Farms transient pool allocation, 3,622 acre feet. So making good use of that transient pool allocation. Just quickly, an outreach update. We were talking about the Facebook page, and we're working with Westbound on that. But just to let you know, the page itself is created, but there's no post yet. There's basically the about information and a cover photo, but there's no posts. And we'll be talking about that with Westbound later this afternoon, kind of getting organized in terms of what we're going to do and how we're going to circulate for review. So, but we're getting it off the ground, continuing to work on the website and the content that we'll want to put on that as well. So a lot of work still going on outreach. And let's see, finally, we have our Capital Core report. There's a memo in your packet for your review, and I will ask Michael McKinney if he would like to add anything.
Not much to add to the report this month, Carol. What you have in front of you is what has occurred over September. Probably the biggest issue, of course, is the federal government shutdown. It is impacting our work with the agencies, not so much with Congress. As Steve noted, getting a hold of anybody within the federal agencies is difficult at this particular moment in time. And the people that are working, of course, are working as essentially essential personnel and are not getting paid. So they're not in particularly great moods at this point. Up on Capitol Hill, everything is proceeding as normal now, but I have a feeling things are going to slow down quite a bit. Over the course of this month and going into next month, we will be completing all of the next year activities with regard to any requests that the authority may have or that the city may have in terms of federal funding and state funding. And those will be in the board packets in the coming 2 months before the end of the year. And I'll answer any questions from there.
Very good. Thank you, Michael. Any questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, any questions from the floor? Go ahead.
Joshua Nugent, Mojave Pistachios. Just wanted to say thank you for the board getting that transfer done. And no matter what people think about the valley, I think free market principles that allow for people to make the best use of the water is the way to go. So I appreciate that being part of the GSP, and that'll help us going forward. So we appreciate that. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Carol. All right. So with that, this meeting is adjourned. Well, let me back up. The next meeting will be November 12th, 2025, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.